6:40 in the morning. You reach for your keys, and before your hand even touches the doorknob, your dog already knows. The pacing, the panting, that low, worried whine trailing you from room to room like a countdown. And by the time you're back, here's what might be waiting. A chewed corner of the rug, a cushion torn open at the seams, a neighbor mentioning the barking that started the second your door clicked shut. If your dog's separation anxiety keeps getting worse, no matter what you've tried, here's the truth. It has nothing to do with obedience. And in the next few minutes, you're going to see exactly why. Stay with me, because what actually interrupts this starts right now. Here's the first thing I want you to hear. You aren't failing your dog, and your dog isn't broken. Nobody ever taught you how to read what's happening underneath the barking and the chewing. And that's not a character flaw. That's simply a missing piece. That frustration you feel walking back into a wrecked living room? It doesn't mean you love your dog any less. Your dog isn't misbehaving. They're reacting to something underneath the surface, something we're about to name together. Now here's where most of the advice you've already tried leads you astray. Leave a stuffed toy. Ignore the whining. Sneak out the back door so your dog doesn't notice you're leaving. Maybe you've come home to a shredded pillow and scolded your dog on the spot. None of it holds. And it isn't because you did anything wrong. It's because every one of those techniques treats the surface behavior, the barking, the chewing, as if it were the actual problem. But the behavior was never the problem. It was only the report. Maybe for you, it's a dog who barks at the door the second the bell rings. Maybe it's a dog destroying the house after being left alone. Maybe it's a dog who ignores you the moment you're outside together. But what if the mess was never about defiance at all? Underneath every one of these symptoms is a nervous system that has no reliable way to predict what happens when its anchor point disappears. That's the actual root cause of dog behavior we're solving for here, not the mess on the floor. These are what I call the invisible errors. Small mistakes in timing, tone, and consistency that quietly work against you long before you ever reach for your keys. There's something else almost nobody talks about, and it's the static you personally bring to the doorway. If you feel guilty, rushed, or apologetic in the moments before you leave, your dog reads every bit of that tension before you've said a single word. We call that emotional noise, and it turns an already anxious moment into a louder one. Long, emotional goodbyes, dramatic, relief-filled homecomings. Both patterns confirm to your dog that your coming and going is the single most significant event of their entire day, which is the exact opposite of what an anxious nervous system actually needs. The same dog body language signals that help you calm a reactive dog in any stressful moment are quietly playing out in your hallway every single morning. In the pacing, the panting, the whine you already recognize. It's about understanding what your dog is actually built to respond to on a biological level, underneath every training script you've ever tried. Here's the shift that changes everything. Your dog isn't choosing chaos. Your dog is mirroring a state, the way water settles to its own level. Researchers at Linköping University in Sweden actually measured this directly. They tracked long-term stress hormone levels in dogs and their owners over months and found the two were synchronized. Calmer owners tended to have calmer dogs, and more stressed owners tended to have more stressed dogs, consistently over time. That's not a coincidence. In other words, if you're anxious about leaving, your dog's body may already be absorbing that anxiety before you ever reach the door. It's a documented biological connection, one that canine psychology has circled for years, because your dog's body is tuned to yours the way a tuning fork responds to a vibration across the room. This is the entire foundation of what I call the emotional sync method, a 5-part cycle built on awareness, regulation, signal, reinforcement, and trust. Awareness means noticing your own state before you ask anything of your dog. Regulation means bringing your body, breath, and posture back to something genuinely calm before you act. Not performing calm on the outside while your insides are still racing. Signal is what you communicate once you're actually regulated, a clear cue your dog can recognize the same way every time. Reinforcement happens the instant your dog responds, delivered with warmth, not a delayed afterthought. And trust is what all of that builds over time. A dog who no longer has to guess what happens next because the pattern has finally become reliable. This cycle isn't a training gimmick. It's nervous system regulation applied directly to the human-dog relationship. And it's the emotional attunement that most conventional training skips completely, because it targets the behavior and never the person underneath it. Your dog isn't misbehaving when the whining starts before you've even left the house. They're simply mirroring a state they can't regulate on their own yet. And there's a timing detail coming up in a moment about the instant you walk back through that door. A window of only 1 to 2 seconds that quietly decides whether your response builds trust or accidentally rewards the very anxiety you're trying to fix. If this reframe is landing the way it did for me, go ahead and hit like and think about subscribing, because we break down one more piece of this every week, and what's coming next builds directly on it. But what is your dog actually sensing in the final moments before you walk out that door? Let's build your actual departure ritual, applying the emotional sync method to the exact moment causing you the most pain. Before anything else, practice what I call the 10-second sync reset. Stop for 10 full seconds right where you're standing. First, notice. What are you feeling in your body right now? Where's the tension? Is your breath shallow? Second, adjust. 1 slow exhale, shoulders dropping, feet flat on the floor. Don't perform calm for your dog's benefit. Let your body actually arrive there. Third, connect. Bring your full attention into this moment, this dog, this doorway. Not the meeting you're late for, not yesterday's mess. Only then do you begin your ritual, the same small sequence, delivered the same way, every time. Coat, keys. One calm phrase said once, without apology in your voice. Something as simple as "back soon" works perfectly. Then leave, without lingering, without a long goodbye that broadcasts your own guilt into the room. The ritual itself becomes the signal that everything is fine and that you're coming back. If your dog struggles to settle, give them one designated spot to land, a calming donut-style bed with a raised rim they can curl into. It becomes a physical anchor while their nervous system catches up with the new pattern. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. Don't start with the full length of your actual day. Start with micro departures. Step outside for 30 seconds. Come back before the anxiety can build. When you return, greet your dog quietly and calmly, almost like nothing happened, because to their nervous system, nothing dramatic should have happened. You aren't teaching your dog that being alone feels wonderful. You're teaching them that it's predictable. And predictable is the closest thing to safety a nervous system understands. Extend the time gradually, over days, not hours. A minute, 5 minutes. Longer only once the shorter version starts to feel boring instead of frightening. And remember the timing window we touched on earlier. Your dog connects consequences to actions within roughly 1 to 2 seconds, which means the calm greeting needs to happen the moment you walk through the door, not after you've taken off your shoes. This is also the real reason scolding a mess after the fact never works. By the time you notice it, your dog can no longer connect your reaction to what happened. So all a delayed response teaches is that your own arrival is unpredictable. What would it actually feel like to leave your own house one day without that knot in your stomach? I'll be honest, this won't resolve in one afternoon, and anyone promising an overnight fix isn't being straight with you. But across a few consistent weeks, owners using this exact departure ritual report the pacing easing, the destruction slowing, and the whining softening into something quieter and shorter. What was once chaos becomes a manageable, shrinking moment instead of the center of your dog's entire day. How long before predictable finally starts to feel like safety to your dog? If you want a structured, day-to-day way to keep practicing exercises like this one, I'll leave the app I personally use for that in the description below. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. The departure ritual you just learned works because it's one small piece of the larger emotional sync method. A cycle that shows up far beyond just the goodbye at the door. Separation anxiety was never really about the door itself. It was always about whether your dog can predict you, trust you, and read you clearly enough to feel safe when you aren't in the room. That's the real promise behind lasting separation anxiety dog solutions, addressing what's actually happening underneath, not just managing the mess it leaves behind. If today's exercise helped, I've put together a free emotional sync method checklist that walks you through this exact cycle for every situation you'll face. Not only departures, and you'll find it linked in the pinned comment below this video. For anyone ready to go deeper, there's also a complete guide called The Dog Who Understands You, which lays out the entire method chapter by chapter, along with the invisible errors most owners never even notice they're making. That link lives in the pinned comment as well. And there's more waiting for you in the video, already queued up next, going even further into the relationship you're building with your dog. Exactly what you need next. Because at the end of the day, this was never really about stopping a behavior. Your dog isn't misbehaving. They're simply waiting for someone who signals they can finally trust, and that someone can be you. Starting with the very next time you pick up your keys.